Hello, everybody. Jeff here with a new series called How to Play the Game, where I'm going to go over concepts that relate across esports titles, utilizing some of the most obvious and direct examples to display those concepts as clearly as possible, and hopefully providing enough commentary to allow you to relate it to whatever game it is that you play. The first episode that we've got here is going to be called How to Play the Game, Isolating Your Games. That's really important for those of you trying to succeed in your ranked games, which applies across every esport, of course. So, isolating your games. What does that mean? Well, that means that we want to make sure that we're not chaining all of our games together in a self-destructive pattern. Here's what this looks like for a lot of people, right? They start off their ranked experience, they start off their gameplay experience with good intentions, with their fundamentals. And they go into game one and they try and iterate on those fundamentals as best they can. That's cool. All right. Stuff happens, right? It's like Mike Tyson said, everybody has a plan till they get hit. But then these people in your game, they go into game two, carrying over from game one. We've all encountered those ranked games where we come in against somebody who's tilted from the game before. They're already locked out of the voice comms or talking trash in the alt chat or, whatever, because of what happened in the last game. And we've been those players. All right, going into this game, I'm going to focus on X goal. Great. My fundamentals are solid. I'm playing well. Great. You get in the game and then just, boom, something happens. You get smurfed on, for example. And then it just spirals out of control because you're thinking about what happened in game one. And this can turn into a really negative trend as you carry it from game to game to game, and it builds and it grows, and it can be really destroying to confidence as what happened in game one and then compounds into game two, which then compounds into game three. And you reach a point where whether you win or lose, you're so busy thinking about, oh, well, I messed this up and I messed that up and I messed this up and I messed that up. But this is wrong and that's wrong. And it gets so toxic that it just results in frustration, whether you're doing well or you're not, because you're not able to isolate the game. You're not able to look at the game in a vacuum as opposed to looking at the game in kind of this linear progression, right? And that's where we get to this mindset, right? Where we take our fundamentals, we take this baseline that we've got, and we move it from our fundamental viewpoint into game one. And then we check, what was our progress? What did we do well? What do we need to work on? Okay, cool. And then when we go into game two, we don't think about any of that at all. What we think about is we think about our fundamentals. What are we working on? What are our goals? We take that into game two. And then we check, what was our progress? What did we do well? What do we need to work on? And then we go into our next game. We go back to those fundamentals and we ask ourselves, what do we need to do? We set those goals and we achieve some of those goals again. So let's talk about how we do this, right? Step one, go review a game. Go look at a game, go examine it, go see, okay, what worked for me? What do I need to do better? When you do that, try and look for broad topics that can be fixed, broad goals that happen repeatedly. Maybe you're a StarCraft player and you die to every 12 pool that you encounter. Maybe you're a Valorant player and You die every time you're trying to take showers on attack or defensive bind. Maybe you're a Dota 2 player and you cannot win your lane as Legion Commander no matter how hard you try, right? Broad goals, things that occur across multiple games, not, oh, in this specific instance, in this one 30-second clip that I have, I messed up. Something that happens consistently, repeatedly. Big mistakes are the most important ones to fix because that's the foundation that the rest of your game will build off of. And from there, we establish what those goals are. We say, hey, this is what I want to do. This is what I want to improve on. Now, anybody that does this, you're going to have a lot of goals. You're going to end up with a large variety of goals because you can't play Legion Commander every game. Not every TVZ is going to be against a 12 pool. You load into maps other than Bind when you're playing Valorant. It's going to happen, right? So you're going to have goals related to agents. You're going to have goals related to maps. You're going to have goals related to heroes, to champions, to certain matchups, broad goals related to things that you encounter frequently, but not every time, right? And that's where the isolation of the game is really important because you need to be able to separate all those. And rather than get frustrated with, oh, well, I can't do this thing because I'm not able to play, like I'm not on bind, so I can't practice my showers control. You say, okay, well, I'm on Haven. What's my goal for Haven? What am I trying to do on this map? Oh, it's not a 12 pool. They're doing a 3 base, 1-1 roach timing. What's my goal against that? Am I good against that? Cool. How do I improve that? How am I better? What's something that I can do better in this game? You establish those goals. You establish them for as many situations as possible as you go forward, and then every single game you encounter, you have an isolated goal. Now, for the best goals, they're the most broad, and you can set reminders for them. Hey, I consistently end up with a horrible economy in my ranked Valorant games. I need to manage my purchases better. Well, that applies to every game. Make a sticky note. Put it on your monitor. That's the easiest and best way to do that. Some people have a second monitor. They put it up on their second monitor. Some people write it down regularly. There's a lot of different ways to do it, but I'm a big fan of the sticky note method. It forces you to write it. It's always going to be there. It's easy to remember, and you can take it down once you've completed it, and that feels good. Maybe you end up with a stack of sticky notes of goals that you've completed, progress that you've made. That feels good to have, and that's important too. Having something that feels good is really valuable. The last bit is you want to revisit those goals regularly, in between every game, sometimes even during the games. You don't want to say, oh, well, this is my goal for the day, and then you start playing for the day, and then the goal gets lost in the day. As you saw earlier, it starts with good intentions almost every time, but it breaks it down in the middle. That's why we want to keep going back to what happens in the middle. So hopefully this is helpful. Hopefully this is helpful in your ranked games in particular. Comments, questions, concerns, anything that you have down below. Not just to boost the algorithm, but also because I'm going to read them and I'm going to answer as many of them as I can as we continue this series. And be sure to like and subscribe to continue supporting the channel, support the work that we do here at CG, and also just to support the series as a whole. And hopefully some of this information will help you in your journey to learn how to play the game better. Thanks. See you next time.